Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to today's bonus upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's bonus, shall we? So, a brief rundown of today's video. Encounters, obviously, but I have a picture that I've tried to post 3 times. I've tried to put it in a video twice, and I tried to put it on my community page once. It's a photo of a dogman outside of my daughter's boyfriend's house. He took it while he was getting up to get a soda or something, a drink. And as he had walked out of his room, he looked through the window and saw a large grayish dogman. Well, he ran towards the kitchen area and took a picture. For some reason, it just came out black, and every time I have posted it, someone emailed me and said, "Hey, what's that pic look like?" And I emailed it back to him. Please don't do that. I've got a million emails coming in daily. I cannot email everyone this picture, so I'm praying that it comes out on this video. Also, if it doesn't come out, I'm obviously going to know, and so there's really no sense of saying the video or the picture is black, because I'm not going to go back and delete the video or take that section out, because it's virtually impossible. And then the video is a video that I posted the other day, probably one of the most compelling videos of the existence of these creatures. I know they exist because I saw one myself, and those people who have seen them themselves know they exist, but this is the most compelling evidence. What I did was I let the video run, and then I enlarged the section of where the dogman is. So with that, let's get into some encounters to start this day off. Today's first encounter. Myself and 3 of my friends were attempting to harvest our cash crop that we had planted in a cornfield very close to an old cemetery back in October of 2017. The silage corn had been tall that year, standing 8 to 10 feet, but the feed corn harvest was about to take place, and it was time to pull our cash crop. We had just gotten into the field and fanned out. I was the furthest to the right. Straight ahead in the distance was a blue flash of light that originated in a cemetery. It looked like it was 10 to 15 feet off the ground, then a loud crashing thump, like something heavy fell. Then a few hundred feet to the left, the same exact thing happened, like a blue ring-shaped flash of light. These things tore out of the trees and into the corn at an incredible speed, faster than any living creature I'd ever seen move, supernaturally fast. Whatever they were began to bluff charge me and my friends, running at me 3 or 4 times, then stopping just outside of the range of direct sight, maybe 2 to 3 rows of corn away. They were as large as grizzly bears and as fast as racehorses. They were going between me and my buddies. Then I saw the head and shoulders of one, a large wolf-like head with pointed ears and huge shoulders. The head had no neck and was situated directly on its shoulders. It was a terrifying sight. There was absolutely zero doubt in my mind as to what I had just seen. It was 10 feet away from me at max. Just then it charged me from the front and left. My buddy's dog came out from the right. I thought I had been flanked and almost shot the dog, who was losing her mind at the time, whining and whimpering and shaking profusely nonstop. At this point, I start praying aloud, and these two dog-like creatures, or whatever they were, instantly turned and hightailed it out of that cornfield and back toward that cemetery. So my buddies and I found each other eventually, and they said they had been bluff charged as well. The guy who had driven us said he had seen it. I told him I did as well. I continued to pray. As I looked in the direction I saw those creatures run off to, we still had a serious job to do. There were thousands of dollars sitting in that field. We got things harvested, wrapped up, and ready to move out of there. Well, they doubled back around us because when my friend and I were struggling with dragging a blue tarp full back along the tractor access route, we passed a large bush. One of these creatures was right there. My friend screams out, "There's a wolf!" As I looked up, it was running like a man on two legs. The creature only ran about 10 feet into the woods and stopped dead in its tracks. My friend and I were ready to go, and he said to me, "Is it coming back to get us?" I just started praying aloud again. Nothing else happened. We dragged everything to the car. Because it's a little hatchback, someone had to stay behind. So I thought, well, this is great. There's something seriously messed up going on here. That only seems to be kept at bay by prayer. These guys don't know I've been praying, so one of them is going to get killed if I don't stay. I think it was the Holy Spirit protecting me. I strongly felt it. So my buddy's dog and I stayed behind and spent the next hour on the road. As she whined and cried and freaked out, I was praying and holding my ground. I did notice that one of the creature came up behind the embankment that was along the entrance to the field and just stood there pacing back and forth. I then saw another creature was now on the other side of the entrance road, behind a huge blackberry bush that hangs over the ditch. It was not more than 10 feet away from us. The dog's freaking out so badly that it almost got to me. I thought she might just drop dead from a heart attack. Every time I see that dog now, I know she remembers it as well. She gives me a look and starts shaking. She has strongly bonded with me since that day. I was never so happy to see those headlights come back over that hill, and my friend pulled up to get us. It seemed like forever we were on that road, but in reality it maybe have been an hour tops. When we got back to my friend's house, he said, "Did you see the size of that dog, bro?" I just said, "I don't want to talk about it ever again." All right, so at this point is going to be my attempt to share the photograph that my daughter's boyfriend took for the 4th time. It seems to be showing up as I'm making this video right now. Hopefully it stays this way because I really want you guys to see it because it is truly captivating. I'll share it quick. He was playing some Call of Duty, needed a drink, got up, looked out his back window, saw a huge grayish black Dogman kind of walk through his backyard out toward the front. He kind of ran through the house and looked out the kitchen window and snapped this photo. They have been seeing these creatures since the first time they saw one down by the cemetery. Not every day. I went to the cemetery. I go to the cemetery quite often. I live right down the road from the cemetery. I think they've seen the creature once at the cemetery. He has seen it to take the picture. they've heard it a couple different times. One time they heard it kind of make this growling howl so loud that their window was open, and their neighbors that were on their screened-in porch or whatnot, they could hear the neighbors say, "What in the was that?" So that's the story behind the picture. Once again, if you can't see it, I apologize. There's no need to let me know, because I'm going to watch it as well. And if I can't see it, that means I know you can't. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed. Today's second encounter. Many times we don't think about these creatures being in the trees. I feel like this next encounter is a reminder and a warning. Late spring 2006, Planeta, California. It was foggy late Sunday night at around 1 in the morning. I walked to the end of my driveway to have my last smoke of the night. I'm standing facing my neighbor's house directly across the street when I decide to light my cigarette. I turned slightly to the right to cover my lighter. The second the cigarette was lit, I heard the most unbelievable and beyond piercing demonic scream that was so loud I instantly froze like a statue. I moved only my eyes very slowly to look from the corner of them and the direction the sound had come from, while asking myself very silently under my breath, with so much meaning, WTF was that? But I couldn't see what made the scream. I realized whatever this thing was hiding behind the AC unit on the rooftop of my neighbors across the street. In my mind, I told myself, just pretend you didn't hear anything and slowly turn around and walk back to the house. I was so terrified, but I did exactly that. I wanted to just run for my life like never before, as fast as I could to the house. Just so everyone gets a better idea of how loud this scream was, the house where this happened is on a small dead-end street, 5 homes on each side. This monster screamed so loud I was in shock that none of the neighbors came running out to investigate the noise, because I know for a fact every neighbor on that street heard that scream. I still don't understand why no one came out. Was it because they were scared? What I witnessed that first time was the most horrific and beyond anyone's nightmares. I've since been afraid to step 1 foot outside after dark, and that's not going to change. I've searched and researched over 10 years and still have no idea what this creature was or why it focused on me. I've narrowed it down to either crawler or dogman. It can also jump an incredible distance from tree to tree, at least 20 feet apart. My neighbor had an experience very similar around the same time. Just after he and his wife had split up, he was doing some work on a guy's car. He had sold his car to a friend and agreed to work on it at his house. He would bike over and work on it and then bike home. It was late one night, and he had needed a drill bit, so he hopped on his bike and rode home and grabbed his tool. He was riding back to the house along an avenue when he thought he heard something jump from telephone pole to telephone pole some 20 feet away. Eventually it landed in a tree right beside him, which caused the whole tree to bend down and almost touch the ground. He assumed it was a large bird. 3 or 4 houses down, while still riding, this bird landed in the tree again beside him. He surmised that it had landed with such force. If it were a human, it would have broken every body in its bone. Given how far down the other tree was, he couldn't believe that something could jump that far. At that point, he looked over and saw something in the tree. He instantly recognized that this was not a bird, but something humanoid. Something with 2 arms and 2 legs. He kept biking, and now 4 more houses down, this creature leapt from the previous tree into the one that was right next to him. It was an impossible jump for any humanoid. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see this creature, and he was terrified. He described it as having long, like legs, which were bent in two places like a dog. It was black and had a huge torso. He couldn't see the face of the creature due to the foliage and the fact that it was night. He noted that it was making some strange sound, almost like a laugh. Terrified, he took both hands off his bike and proceeded to wave them in the air and scream. He pedaled like crazy until he reached his friend's house. The experience traumatized him so badly for months he tried to figure out what he saw, noting that it kind of fit the description of a werewolf, but still, he wasn't sure. He also noted that it definitely was no monkey. Curiously, he recalled that 2 days prior to his experience, a neighbor of his had mentioned seeing and attempting to record a UFO near their home. He wasn't sure if this experience was related to his or if it was just coincidence. In the years since, he believes that this creature he saw, with its ability to jump such large distances from tree to tree and its enormous size, that it could easily pick up a person and carry them off. He believes that it may be responsible for some of the missing persons cases in which dogs cannot track a scent. He also thinks that people were pulled into the trees and carried off. He noted that law enforcement should look into the shocking number of cases in which missing persons are found deceased at the base of a broken tree or in the area of lots of broken trees. As I was reading that last part, I thought about the last time I was up in the area where Tom Mezek disappeared, the missing 411 case, about all of the broken trees that were up there that were not just little saplings, but pretty large. Probably just coincidence, but who knows. Anyway, this next part is that video that I shared a couple of days ago that a subscriber sent me. He emailed me 4 days ago with it and asked to remain anonymous. But I figured since some people said they couldn't see it, the majority of the people did say they could see it, I figured I'd share it again, this time enlarge the portion of where you see the head. And you can see this head is clearly moving. I mean, I've showed 6 to 7 different people on top of the comments that I've read, and they are blown away. So here that is, guys. I hope you enjoy it. That video blows my mind every time I see it. First of all, I can't get enough of it. And second of all, you can see its head moving. Just mind-blowing. Anyway, today's third encounter, I'm going to share with you. There are a couple interesting things that are coincidentally interesting to me, maybe interesting to you. So each time at the first part of the story or experience, I will share why that event or date is important. Let's get into it. I had a Dogman experience on November 15th, 2015, the day Tom Mezek disappeared, day and year, in October Mountain State Forest near Lee, Massachusetts, very close to where a teacher from New York just recently disappeared and was found dead. I've been an avid outdoorsman, bushcrafter, hunter, survivalist for 3 decades. I've hunted all over North America, Alaska. I've come across every predator, cougar, black bear, brown bear, wolves, coyotes. What I saw on that day was no bear. It was no more than 75 feet from me. I was on the tail end of a 5-day solo. I had made camp at the top of a ridge about 250 feet from the river below me. It was at dawn, and I had made my way down to the river to retrieve some water to make some coffee. The river flows hard and makes quite a bit of noise due to the outcrops of rocks in the middle of it. As I got closer to the water, I noticed what appeared to be a bear bent over at the water's edge. Now, the last thing you want to do is spook a bear. I carry a whistle around my neck, which I blow periodically as I'm hiking for that specific reason, to alert bears that I'm coming through. So I blew the whistle. As soon as I blew that whistle, the creature's head spun around again. I still thought it was a bear, but as its head turned, its shoulders started to turn too. It was then that I instantly knew this is no bear. It had a canine-like head. It methodically got up, in no rush. It got up on its hind legs and just completely turned around. I was in the First Battle of Fallujah, May of 2004, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, and I was scared every time I went live. But adrenaline took over, and I could deal with my fear. But the fear I felt that day was nothing I had ever experienced. I was frozen in fear and couldn't move. I had my .45 caliber sidearm on me, and have drawn that gun thousands and thousands of times at the range. I couldn't get myself to reach for it. I was petrified. It seemed like a lifetime. It was standing there staring at me, but it was less than a minute. It broke right down and got onto all fours and just ran toward the brush. I stood there for maybe an hour motionless until I got the courage to move. I didn't see it the rest of the trip. Today's fourth encounter. Within the past 2 to 3 years, I put pieces together from my childhood and concluded that the creature we all feared when we were kids, which we simply called the thing in the woods, was possibly a Bigfoot. There were just too many similarities to a lot of incidents and descriptions that I've heard from researchers and eyewitness accounts. I also looked up sighting reports and couldn't believe when I saw how many were in my area. Western Pennsylvania was a literal hotbed of activity, and I can commiserate with others. Having something like this lurking in your home area is terrifying, especially as kids. I remember these occurrences didn't really start happening until I was around 11 and my sister was 8. I remember when we first acknowledged our thing to a couple of our cousins when they were visiting one day. We were sitting on my grandmother's porch, who lived next door to us in a rural area. It was getting dark in about an hour or so, and we started getting nervous. Our cousins kept asking us why we were saying we had to go home before it got dark. We finally told them that there's something that come through the woods after dark and sounded like a freight train and broke tree branches, and I guess this was the vital clue, that it stunk awful. The best way to describe it then was a burning rubber smell. That's when my older cousin very calmly and matter-of-factly simply said, "Oh, well, it sounds like you have the thing in the woods here too." We were shocked and asked what he meant. He recalled an encounter he had heard his dad and uncle talking about to their wives the previous hunting season. They always went deer hunting and in the summer went fishing. They had a tin little trailer they had bought for the property that was a couple hours from their homes. They had it for only 3 years. He said that this past hunting season they cut it short, coming home after only 3 days. And they got home at a crazy hour in the morning because they had left in the middle of the night to come back. The reason was the following. My cousin said that his dad and uncle had been up at camp and everything seemed normal at first, though it seemed that there were fewer deer that season. Populations change, so they didn't think much of it. The first night they were there, one of them thought they had heard some tree breaks while out relieving themselves, but thought nothing of it, since there are bear. Up there as well, trees can break naturally and fall. That night they slept well, but when they left in the morning they saw odd pine cones and a couple of small rocks around their trailer. They couldn't figure out where they had come from. The second night they both heard pinging on the roof and the back of the trailer that sounded like heavy hail. It only happened randomly, but it was enough to pique their interest. They looked outside and didn't see anything. They commented that it had stunk something awful, like a skunky type smell. It was my cousin's uncle that had said it, reminded him of burning tires on asphalt in the summer heat. That's why when they said that, it tipped my cousin off. Outside the next morning, they found more rocks behind their trailer. They climbed a ladder to the roof where there were rocks on top. This definitely perplexed them, but they thought maybe it was some stupid kids messing around. So they hunted that day, and that final night. They were talking and listening to see if something would happen again, and sure enough, they heard large rocks hitting the back of their trailer. They went out with their guns and yelled whoever's out there to stop, that they had the right to protect their property and they would do it. But the rocks kept coming. They went back out and smelled that foul odor again, very strong. Then they heard what they can only describe as a powerful snap on the backside of the trailer. Now they were mad. They ran out again with their guns to confront the pranksters. They said that all they saw was a dent in the trailer, that as they panned their flashlight they caught a glimpse of something large taking off through the tree line. They said that it had dark fur like a bear, but they both said it was running upright like a human. They knew no one in a fake suit could move stealthily like that, or that dent in the side wall of their trailer. They went inside, and one of them said, "We just saw a Bigfoot." They packed their things up and left within the hour, feeling threatened. That was the last time they ever went to that property. So something terrified these lifelong hunter woodsmen into giving up something they loved. Hearing that experience made me a believer. We were all terrified growing up of those woods. Even to this day, after more recent encounters, I'm just as scared and won't go out there at night. And what truly solidified my belief was around here was when I started to live with my ex. Not living there now because he passed unexpectedly. He insisted that there were Bigfoot coming on the property. He had weird habits as well, which made him feel he was serious. He was also a well-respected Army vet and active-duty police officer. Tonight's final encounter. We were driving home from my parents' place in Streamwood, Illinois, and went through Bartlett like we typically do. On Bartlett Road, approaching Schick Road, there is prairie/forest preserve named Hawk Hollow. That general area is supposed to be haunted, especially the park/old schoolyard nearby. Now, I've known this, and I have prayed against this entity specifically, dog-like spirit with human or human-like face. I've never seen it, but the area has had many reports of general paranormal action, and this dog thing is mentioned. I always kept a lookout when we drove through there because deer may jump out because you never know what you'll see. So my wife is driving and I'm looking around for anything weird, and also because I like spotting wildlife. It was dark around 8:30 in December. I happened to look down for a second. I think I happened to drop my phone or something. And my wife asks, "Did you see that?" I knew what it was before she said anything else. She knew nothing of my knowledge of these things in the area, and I hadn't disclosed my prayers against any evil residing there. I replied, "Did you see something weird?" She said, "I think so. It looked like a shadow that ran across the road." "Did it look like a dog?" I asked. She said it did, and was wondering how I knew since I didn't see it. She said it wasn't a solid animal like a coyote, which we see now and then. She said it was transparent and dog-like, but drawn out or thin. I then told her a little bit about the area. It's funny that it happened to run across the road when I wasn't looking. I think it's likely I'm aware of God intervening through my prayers, and it's not very happy with me. Well, that's fine with me. I know it's up to no good, and I'm not afraid of it or its brethren.
And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed today's bonus as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. After all, it is your support that keeps this channel growing and going, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.